The New South Wales Government has made housing designs for new homeowners available for just $1. The housing pattern book contains 8 templates for low-rise homes up to 2 stories. Each plan is pre-approved and includes all the technical information required for a quick build. Premier Chris Minns says the designs are long overdue for the state.
If you ask anybody for the last 20 years in New South Wales how frustrating it has been to get approval for a family home, they'll all say the same thing: it is impossible. It's impossible to get through our government departments, it's impossible to navigate the labyrinth of local councils. More often than not, you get a no, not a yes. It's delay after delay after delay. And the Minister for Planning today has announced what I think is a revolutionary change to the way houses are built.
The designs will cost $1 for 6 months before the price rises to $1,000. Sydney architect Tone Wheeler says while the designs are commendable, the scheme does nothing to address planning delays more generally.
Well, the designs themselves are to a brief that's been given to them by the government architect, and I think they work very well for what they are. The designs meet a very narrow brief. The bigger picture around it is that the reason that they're trying to have patterns is that there's long delays in getting anything approved. So the big selling point here is, 10 days you'll get an approval. My question for this is, the real thing that needs to be attacked is the delays for everybody else. Every other planning scheme and housing scheme is taking 10 months, not 10 days. And this won't cure that, because this will only apply to a very limited number of solutions, a number of issues.
But if this shows that that council approval can be done, between 10 and 20 days, what is the reason for that long delay? Is it all red tape and bureaucracy?
Yes, in essence it is. We would say that most councils across Australia are run by NIMBYs and notes. The NIMBYs are the not in my backyard. The notes are the people who say not over there either. So the existing residents in any suburb are very defensive about having anything new, and they have the ear of council. The people who are not living there but will be living there don't have any voice. And unfortunately that means that council tends to put up roadblocks and barriers to all of these all the time. The other part of it is that an approval now is not just based on a sheet of architectural drawings with some notes. It might have up to 10 different consultants. These patterns will still need that. They'll still need a landscape architect and a traffic engineer and a building code approval. There's a lot of other things that will have to go into it. So
is there any danger in pushing these through so quickly?
Yes, I think there is, because most of the sites that we deal with aren't ideal for any of these patterns. We had a look at them this morning when they were released. And of the 40 years that I've been in work doing housing in Sydney, I can't think of any sites where these ones would go, because most of the sites have a different slope on it. They have the sewer, the stormwater, the water, the electricity, the power, all comes from different places on different sites. So to adapt them to the site, and it's built into the pattern book, there are those things which you can't change and those things which you do adapt. The adaptation to it is probably going to end up being the same as starting with a clean sheet of paper. I think they're a warning to councils that they need to lift their game. But I would think that most planning ministers in most states in Australia would say we need to fix the approvals process first and foremost.
This idea isn't really new though, Tone, is it? We had those kit homes in Australia in the 70s. We have project homes now where you pick from a book and a developer will build it for you. And of course, looking back even further, those terraced houses that went up quickly, built specifically for the growth of the urban population. This isn't anything new really, is it?
They were, although let's remember that the terraces were developer housing. They weren't sold individually. They were owned by a developer, and they had pretty low quality to them, which is part of the pattern that was built into it. More recently, we've had, as you say, the prefabricated homes and so on, but they still have to go through an approval process. What's interesting is that in New South Wales, they set up a system to bypass councils for certain kinds of buildings, particularly duplexes, replacing one house with 2, which is a very sustainable thing to do, or to replace a house with 4 small apartments, called a manor home. Now, what's really interesting was that the government architect said to these architects, two of you on each of these different typologies, as we call the different types. And one of those architects looking at the manor home just went, there aren't enough reasons to build a manor home, we'll design something else, which tells you that some of these designs don't meet a market need. Yes, you can get a 4-apartment building approved without going to council, but so far in New South Wales, probably less than 10 have been approved and built, whereas there have been tens of thousands of duplexes. You've got to understand what the market wants. Many of those designs in there don't deal with the car problem, right? They assume that we're going to be in a city, we're going to be living without cars, and so some of the terraces don't have car parking, or the car parking is in a car park space in front of it. That's a great idea for approval, but it won't fly with developers. It won't. If someone's aiming to sell a house, you don't sell it without a car parking space in most of our cities.
So given everything we've said, is this New South Wales Government initiative a step in the right direction, or it simply won't work?
I'm hoping. Well, look, I think the designs, as far as I go, have been briefed really well. I think the government architects put a lot of effort into this, which I think will be successful up to a point. But I think when we see councils struggling to give 10-day approvals for these and requiring more information, and it ends up looking like a traditional DA, I think that will bounce back to the Department of Planning and the government architect and say, look, there are bigger problems here. You know, we need to get a standardised way of approval, not a standardised house, but a standardised way of getting an approval. Added to that, prefabrication is the future. We are likely to see more prefab homes, but most councils are opposed to those because they don't like the look of them. They think they're mass manufactured. I think there's still some things down the road. I'm glad that they did it, and I think it's been a fabulous exercise for those 8 architects, but more to come.